Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bayou Ballers podcast. I'm your host, Tay Visuals. It's my guy, co-host Trey over there. How you doing today, bro?
Man, I'm doing good, bro. It's getting real cold out here in the
Mm-hmm.
DFW. About to get some snow tomorrow. So,
You see me bundled up with the jacket in here. Waking up every morning with the AC on 60. It's real crazy. And that's with the heat on. So it's pushing out here in New Orleans, man. We like 40s and 30s right now. So with some rain this weekend, so I'm not looking forward to it. But we here to get into some sports, y'all. The NFL time is here. The playoff time where everybody's glued to their seats on the weekends. And we're gonna get into some of these playoff matchups. And happy New Year's, by the way, y'all. We haven't seen y'all this year, so happy New Year's to y'all. Um, but we're gonna jump into these playoff matchups. I'm gonna pull up the screen here, Trey,
yeah.
and let the people see the matchups that's happening this week. We got 6 games, and let me show y'all this. All right, y'all see all the games. You see the games, Trey?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. We're gonna run through some of these, but I want you to give me your game you're most intrigued by.
Man, I would say the game I'm most intrigued by, honestly, is
Mhm.
um, Vikings Rams.
Okay.
Just because you got that, two guys from that same coaching tree,
Mm-hmm.
kind of that Shanahan vibe and going at it. And Vikings have kind of been I don't want to say Cinderella story of this year, but not too many people had too many expectations of them,
Mm-hmm.
especially with Sam Darnold at quarterback and given narrative around his career. And then
Mm-hmm.
the Rams kind of, in a way, backdooring themselves, into the playoffs, getting hot at the right time of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Stafford's playing well. Cooper Kupp is healthy. Puka's back. And then obviously, Kyron Williams has been literally carrying them in certain games. So
Correct.
it's going to be interesting just kind of see, who comes up with that matchup. Vikings being a 14 seed or a 14 win team
Mm-hmm.
having to go on the road to
That's
LA,
crazy.
that'll be interesting. But that's the
That's
one I'm at least most excited for.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy because I definitely could see either of these teams winning, even though
Mhm.
the Rams have what 9 wins. Um, but it's a tough matchup. But I'm gonna go with the Commanders and Buccaneers because the
Okay.
same, the same, the same with your matchup. I think either one of these teams can win. None is should be heavy favorites. We're going with a Hold up, Trey. I'm getting a wifey call, so I'm gonna
No,
let you
you
take
good.
over right quick.
No, you good. I mean, I think probably the only reason why I'm not I didn't pick the Washington Commanders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is because I don't know if Marshawn Lattimore is playing. Because if he was playing, then we could talk about the rivalry between him and Mike Evans. But since that's not happening, I wouldn't do that. But hey, there's gonna be a lot of good games. Chargers, Texans. You got Jim Harbaugh. You got the Texans, D'Amico Ryans and his team. C.J. Stroud, his second time around in the NFL playoffs. Probably gonna see how he's improved from year one to year two. Definitely had that sophomore slump, right? But he's kind of back at it. They were able to secure their division, kind of get a little bit better, get a little healthier down the stretch, and we'll see what Jim Harbaugh can do. Year one with the Chargers, it's clearly changed just the whole status and atmosphere around that team. With a guy like Justin Herbert, who's getting his second crack at the NFL playoffs. We saw
Mhm.
what happened last time where they blew a 21 point lead or something like that against the Jaguars a couple years ago. And so,
Mhm.
hey, has Justin Herbert learned from his last playoff experience? So there's a lot of games. And then I think Steelers Ravens, AFC North. It's always a bloodbath.
Rivalry.
Now with playoffs, win or go home on the line. Ravens came back like you said they would. Ravens came
Yep.
back for the Steelers won that
Yep.
division.
Mhm.
We love the Steelers would love to play spoiler. They would love to
Mhm.
spoil the potential three-time MVP campaign of Lamar Jackson. They would
And they're
love to
sliding.
spoil everything they got going on. So,
Yep. Pittsburgh's really struggling right now, but sorry about that, y'all. Had to dive off, baby. Wifey got a flat tire, so I had to.
uh-oh.
She had to call me, make sure she was straight. But as I was saying with the Commanders and Buccaneers, rookie quarterback had a great year. This is pretty crazy. Both number two quarterbacks back to back year have been having a great year. So
Mm-hmm.
CJ Stroud and now Jaden Daniels. But Baker Mayfield has really revamped his career to the much of my chagrin of in being a Saints fan. He has left Carolina and the Rams and the Browns and came to Tampa Bay and really found himself a home on a team friendly deal.
Mm-hmm.
And the Buccaneers are what? This is their third year in a row winning the division,
Fourth.
fourth year in a row winning the division.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Bucks will be in a divisional round next again 2 years in a row. I think they will take this game. I know we've been doing predictions right now, but I love what I was about to say the Redskins, the Commanders have been doing. But I think the Buccaneers will take this game because they've been looking that passing game of the Bucks is pretty lethal.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty mad that the Saints let Mike Evans get that last play, but we'll move on. I don't know what's wrong with Darren Rizzi. Whoever was the DC, Joe Woods didn't know
So
double him, triple him.
according to Rizzy, they called for them to double him, and that didn't
He was
happen.
wide open. You
Right.
didn't call it double him. He was in an
Right.
inside slot. You didn't have no outside man or no inside man. Come on,
You
man.
should have
Stop
just
it.
put everybody on him. How about that? Like,
Yeah,
don't even line up regular. Just put everybody on him.
exactly. Let them score. Season over. I don't care. If they got to
Right.
run and go score, let them score. But y'all can't let that happen, man. Lattimore would have fought. But you mentioned the other games as well. Do you see any of these games being non-competitive?
I can see Bills and Broncos not being non-competitive. Um,
Mhm.
and one of my reasons for that is that the Broncos just haven't played well against teams that are good. They
Mhm.
were able to make the playoffs
Coming out the
and kind of
38-0
sneak
win.
in. Yeah, but they haven't played well against teams that are good outside of that game where their field goal got blocked against Kansas City.
What
There's
about the
been
Steelers?
matchups.
You think the Steelers are good?
I think the Steelers are okay. But
I'm saying the Steelers. I mean, I'm sorry. My bad, y'all. The Bengals, the overtime game against the Bengals. You think the Bengals are a good
no,
team?
I mean they're a
A good
flawed team.
offense.
They're a
A
good
good
offense.
offense.
They're
All right.
definitely not a good defensive team.
Okay.
Um, and Bengals still ended up squeaking out and winning that game.
Hmm.
And I just think they've struggled against when you expect them to. Okay, they actually look pretty decent. Bo Nix is
Hmm.
looking good, and they just kind of wet the bed a little bit. And I
Right.
think in Buffalo, Josh Allen MVP campaign. One thing that can keep them in the game is obviously their defense,
Hmm.
and forcing Josh into some mistakes. I think if you could try to stop the run and neutralize um, James Cook, who's leading the league in rushing touchdowns right now. If you could
Hmm.
try to neutralize him a little bit, um, then you might
Yeah.
have a chance by having Josh put the ball in the air. If he puts the ball in the air, you probably
He's
shouldn't throw
bound to
at
make
number
a
two.
mistake.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't throw at number two, but
Hmm.
you've seen their defensive line and edge rushers be able to get after quarterbacks, so it's going to be a really good game. But of the matchups, I could see that one getting out of hand. Um,
Um, a matchup that I could see being a blowout. Um, it's pretty crazy because I think the Broncos actually have a chance. I think
mhm,
they actually are the team that can. All these other games pretty look really like, I guess, even to me. But the
mhm,
Bills game, obviously, they're going to be the biggest favorites this weekend because of the season Josh Allen has had. And
mhm,
the Broncos, like you said, squeaking in the playoffs. But I think Sean Payton did a good job with that team, especially from where they were last year with Russell
yeah,
Wilson, getting off that 80 million, getting a rookie quarterback, especially what everybody was saying this year. Oh, you're gonna draft Bo Nix, the old quarterback of the college, who's been in college 5-6 years.
mhm,
What's it gonna look like? And he pulled off what 10 wins and back to the playoffs in 2 years, within 2 years since he took over the team. So that says a lot about Sean Payton and his coaching ability. No matter what us
mhm,
New Orleans Saints fans think of him.
yeah,
But I'll say this. Upset alert is the Bills. And I think the most competitive matchup will be the Packers and Eagles because
okay,
I can see both of these teams going to the Super Bowl. and it's gonna be pretty tough because Jalen Hurts, he had a great 1 year.
Hmm.
Like one year MVP candidate, played probably the best in a Super Bowl loss in a minute. He had a great game, just one fumble,
Change everything.
turned it, cost him that game basically because
Hmm.
him and Mahomes were playing dueling out pretty well. But Jordan Love, an up and coming quarterback, but makes a lot of bonehead decisions, throws a lot of I'll say not even 50-50 balls, but just prayer balls a lot of times when
Yeah.
he just does too much sometimes. So, and Jalen Hurts is the total opposite. He's a safe quarterback. He doesn't take too many risks.
Hmm.
The AJ Brown back and forth they had going on a couple weeks ago. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Saquon not getting that, not going for the 2000. I'm not gonna say not
Yeah.
getting it, not going for it. We'll see how the rest helps them resting their starters. But I think that could be the game of the week. What
Yeah.
about you?
And yeah, it could be. And honestly, that's you mentioned upset alert with Broncos and Bills. I think that Packers Eagles matchup could be the upset
Hmm.
alert. You got
On which
Jalen
side?
Hurts with the
Who's favorite?
Packers winning that because the Packers
Okay,
would be
yeah.
Eagles would be favored, but you got Jalen Hurts coming off a concussion.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
Oh, I didn't even
they were
know that.
Yeah, they report that he was planning on practicing today, and so that's a
Hmm.
good progress in terms of getting out of concussion protocol. But
Okay.
then we have to think about, okay, what is the game plan going to be around him? Or they're going to be a little bit more safe with how they utilize him running the ball, and now try to feed Saquon a little bit more. Um, and there's been some hits and misses in the past game too
Hmm.
throughout the year. AJ Brown has voiced his frustrations throughout the season of them not really being able to be consistent in the passing game.
Yeah.
And when your quarterback's been out for 2 weeks, and this is going to be his first game in that span of time, and coming off I would garner it a serious injury, being a concussion, and how physical football is.
Yeah,
What
especially when you
Jalen
have to
Hurts are we going to
dissect
see?
these defenses.
Yeah, yeah. What Jalen Hurts are we going to see?
Hmm.
And you mentioned Jordan Love and his boneheaded plays sometimes, but he can make some great plays too. And
Yes, yes, he could.
excuse me,
Bless you.
um, Josh Jacobs has had a hell of a year as the running back too. And
Yes.
when we're thinking about that defensive front for the Eagles and how they can, obviously they're good against the run, but being able to get after the passer. But if you can
Hmm.
establish a run game or utilize Josh Jacobs in an extension of the run game and how he's been used as a receiver this year, and they have two really good tight ends as well,
Hmm.
you can see them really making some plays. And they had a really good opening game, right? They were the opening Monday night game, if I'm not mistaken, or one of those games they played in Brazil. And there was a really good matchup. And that
Hmm.
was a game where Jordan Love ended up getting hurt and missing the next 2 weeks. It'll be interesting. So I think I agree with you. This will probably be the most competitive matchup. I
Hmm.
also believe that this could be a upset alert with the Packers probably getting the road win against Philly.
I can see that as well. Like I said, I can see either of these teams winning. I kind of didn't look at it like as upset alert because I think those teams are evenly matched. That's how
Yeah.
I look at it. Like, the home team might get the three and a half, 3 points, and they technically the favorite by Vegas. But I just see those teams as even, like, and that's why I don't see that as an upset alert. But definitely can see the Packers winning that. I
Mhm.
want to move. I want to move because I think we cover most games. Let's you want to do picks for the games?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's do the
Yeah.
picks. Let's start with the Chargers and Texans. Justin Herbert versus CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, second year in the playoffs. He
Yeah.
got tranquiled last year by the Baltimore Ravens. Um and little side note, y'all, Packers only team to
Mhm.
held somebody to zero until the last week with the Broncos and Chiefs. So um they hosted shutouts this year. But Chargers and Texans, who you got?
I'm gonna go with the Chargers on this one.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm gonna go. Texas been struggling. I'm gonna go with Chargers. We're gonna move on to Broncos Bills.
Okay. Um, I'll go with Bills.
Okay. I'm gonna go with. I'm taking Sean Payton, man. I'm taking Sean Payton and the Broncos. Bo Nix gets it done. First year upset alert on the Bills. Let's
Okay.
go to the Steelers and Ravens.
I'm gonna go Ravens.
Come on, man. You know I got my Ravens, man. Back to the we go to the chip this year, man. Last year. Mahomes got us, but we go to the chip this year, man. I'm rooting for Lamar.
Okay.
Commanders and Buccaneers.
I think the Bucks win this one by a field
Yeah.
goal. It's gonna be a close one.
Sadly, I have the Bucks winning as well. Vikings Rams.
Rams for me. I think the Rams win this game.
Hmm.
And I mean they have the home field, but I just think they have the best quarterback. When it's playoff time, I'm usually go with the team that I think has the best player at the quarterback position, and that's why I'm gonna go with the Rams.
Okay. I'm gonna take the Vikings in this one. I
Okay.
just see Brian Flores defense having a good showing against a slowed down Cooper Cup, by the way. He hasn't been himself. Um, he had a good game when he came off injury. I think I forgot what he had, like 100 yards and something with a bunch of catches. But he
Mm-hmm.
hasn't really been himself this year. And Puka Nakua is great, of course. But and Kyron Williams, like you mentioned earlier. But I think the Vikings defense, and I think a lot of people are just waiting on Sam Darnold to be what Sam Darnold was this game against the Lions this past week. But I think he'll bounce back in his first playoff game. And hey, LA is not really a home field advantage, as we know.
True.
So you might see more Vikings fans out there. So I'm gonna take the Vikings.
Okay.
Last game, Packers and Eagles.
I'm gonna stick with the Eagles on this one. I'm gonna stick with the Eagles on this one.
Okay.
Even because I expect Jalen Hurts to play, and even
Hmm.
if he's limited, I think that defense, and their skilled players on that side are going to give Jordan Love a little bit more trouble. And I think what they're able to do with the run game, even the threat that Jalen Hurts may run, is going to
Hmm.
open some stuff up for Saquon. And you know AJ Brown and Smitty, they're always two people you got to worry about. And without Jair Alexander, that secondary for Green Bay is looking a little thin. So
Hmm. It's really the Eagles have really turned their whole team around basically from last year. They were horrible in the
mhm.
secondary. And they're pretty great now with their draft picks. They're, I think, top five in most defensive categories. In the Green Bay run defense is pretty good as well.
Yeah,
So Saquon might have a tough time, but as we know, if you keep feeding him the ball, he's gonna burst it. He's gonna make that big run, 50, 60
yep.
yard run. It happens more often than not when you keep feeding him, and it breaks down defenses. But the Packers have a great running back on the other side as well, and they're going to test the Eagles defense. So it's tough, man. I'm gonna go, man. I'm gonna go with the Eagles, man. I'm gonna roll with the Eagles on this one. Um, they set a week. Hopefully they rest it, and hopefully it pays off for them. And I would like to see Saquon have a successful playoff run this year. So
Okay.
um, getting off of the games, we're gonna move quickly to this MVP pick. And who do you have for the MVP?
Man, it's Lamar, bro, and I don't even know why. I get it. Uh, Josh has, I guess, the wins record and leading the league or leading the quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns. Like, bro, Lamar about to have almost 6,000 yards of total offense. Like, that's insane. And I get it. He has Derrick Henry, but are we going to penalize him the 1 year he gets somebody that's legit on the
Mhm.
offensive side of the ball with him?
Right.
Like James Cook is leading the league in rushing touchdowns. It's not like Josh Allen is devoid of skilled players around him.
Mhm.
Lamar still don't have a wide receiver one. Like, what are we doing? The dude's about to have the fourth highest QBR in the history of the league. Like
Mhm.
history making. He's blowing him out in every single passing statistic. He's
Mhm.
out rushing him in terms of yards. The only reason why he doesn't have as many touchdowns as Josh Allen does is because he's actually handing the ball out to his running back, not getting touch pushed into the end zone. Like I, I don't even know why it's a discussion. Like it's been over for weeks as far as I'm concerned, and
Uh-huh.
Lamar needs to be getting his third MVP.
I agree. I just don't think the people will give Lamar his third MVP because of he already has two, but Lamar has been great this year. Josh Allen has been great as well. I won't take that away from him, but basically a lot of the things you said, I don't want to repeat it, just piggyback, but you were correct. Like I said, a lot of people like to say bring the Derrick Henry argument, but like you said, he won MVP last year, and people want to compare um different MVP people stats for last year and say
Mm-hmm.
this guy's stats were better than Lamar's stats this year. That doesn't matter. We compare this year. You can't go to last year and compare quarterback stats and be
Right.
like, oh, he better than Lamar this year. It doesn't work like that. You have to add some nuance and context to
Yeah.
what's going on. A big thing why Josh Allen led the MVP is when he beat the Kansas City Chiefs and
Mm-hmm.
made that big old run, which was a highlight play, and he deserved obviously consideration. Nobody said he should be fourth, fifth, or sixth.
Right.
Obviously, it's ahead on pace, but
But
I think Lamar is should be getting
but
that
like,
third
bro, they
thing.
don't like if you tell them you're gonna hold the fact that Josh beat Kansas City and Lamar didn't when we watched that game, and
Mhm.
if Isaiah likely wears a size less shoe, it's a
Right, they're down by
touchdown.
two.
They win in that game.
Right,
Right. Like they about to win. Like,
and I and I
come
and
on.
I'll say this: you can compare that if you're gonna compare that. Baltimore beat the sleeves off Buffalo. They beat the sleeve off Buffalo this year. They beat them by like 30 points, so it was no contest. But we shall move on. We'll see. Obviously we both think Lamar's the MVP. I think his playoff resume is going to be held against him because he won MVP last year, and a lot of people felt like he played bad in that Kansas City game, which
Mhm.
was what was it 10-17 um
Yeah.
10-17 the final score. So, but I don't think he wins another MVP until he has
Super Bowl
a great
MVP.
uh it's sad, but it's either that or a great playoff run. Baltimore doesn't lose um due to him
Hmm.
to the voters' eyes, because a lot of people say Baltimore lost because of his play against the Chiefs, which I
Yeah.
don't totally agree, because hey, a Zay Flowers non-fumble and they're right there. So
Hmm.
but we move on. Let's go to some head coach openings, man, because this figures our team. We're not gonna be able to touch on our team because we pressed for time today. We'll touch
Hmm.
on them tomorrow, y'all. But Raiders coach Antonio Pierce fired. Doug Peterson fired. We'll talk about him a couple during the season that he might be going out of there.
Hmm.
Doug Peterson, Antonio Pierce, Chicago Bears head coach gone, and Mike McCartney is a free agent.
No, he's
Um,
still with the Cowboys. They declined.
his
They
interview with the Chicago Bears.
they
I
declined to go
seen
with the
Jerry
Chicago Bears.
commented and said that's not true. The interview. He
Yeah.
said it wasn't true that they requested the interview.
Mm.
I just looked
Yeah.
it up. So,
Well, he
but
said
hey,
he didn't know about it. That's what he said. But at least the
what do
reports
he
that
know
they
about?
declined.
He said he didn't know about the incentive for Cooper Rush
Yeah.
to get 550,000, but he didn't play the man.
Yeah. But
Stop
I
lying.
think they might be about to extend Mike. I think they're probably going to extend them.
Okay.
If I had to
Um.
guess.
Well, nevertheless, Mike McCartney got a request, and I'm sure he will take interviews from other teams for
Yeah.
leverage and other things. Darren Rizzi got an interview
The
request
Jets.
from
Yeah.
the Jets. So we have teams open: Jets, Bears, Jags, Raiders,
Patriots.
and Patriots. I forgot about Gerard
And
Mayo and
then
Patriots and Saints. Yeah.
I think it's
So
6 or 7. Yeah.
that's six teams. Six teams, I believe. Let's go through this: Saints, Raiders, Patriots, Jaguars, Bears, and that's it.
And so
If
Jets,
you want
right?
to say it, and the Jets. Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, six. So we went over the most attractive,
Yeah.
but
When it was
everybody
just three
wasn't.
of them.
Yeah, it was only three of them. Now we have more. We have the Jets out there. We have the Raiders
Mhm.
out there. And now we have the
You
new
got the Patriots
and the
too.
Patriots. So I would honestly say this: the Patriots are the most devoid of weapons. They
Hmm.
don't have, I think, any guy on their roster that a casual fan who's not a Patriots fan can mention. Like, oh yeah, that wide receiver off the Patriots. Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
running back, the tight end. I don't think
They
nobody
got
can
Drake
mention.
May.
Right, he's a quarterback though. Like I'm
Yeah.
talking about weapons, like wide
Yeah.
receiver, running back, tight end. I don't think too many people can name a weapon. If you ask around the Jets, Gary Wilson, the Saints, you can say Chris Olave,
Hmm.
Taysom Hill, Kamara. The Bears, you could DJ Moore. You get what I'm saying. The Raiders, Brock Bowers has made himself a name. He's a great player. Um, who do you in the Jags? Of course, they
Yeah.
got Brian Thomas Jr. Who do you
Hmm.
like? What team do you like out of these new teams that came about?
Um, I would say, I mean, I do. I mean, you talk about the Patriots. I like them in the sense that they have money. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be about whether they spend it or not. They didn't
Right.
spend it last offseason, and that's kind of why I was a little bit upset with the Mayo firing because it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like you really
Gave him
got
anything to
anything and
work
he
with.
just didn't perform. But
They
when
gave
I
him a
think
rookie
about
quarterback and a backup quarterback.
right, and when I think about the quarterback situation, they have their quarterback of the future in Drake May, and he
Mm-hmm.
showed a ton of flashes this year when he got to play. And again, they have the money to go spend, and they have the number one. No, they don't have no one overall pick anymore because they won. So now they
Mm-hmm.
got a number 4 pick,
Yep.
but still in a really good position to get a playmaker, whether that be on the offensive or defensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's attractive to coaches. I think when you talk about you mentioned the Jaguars, and yeah, you still have Trevor Lawrence, but the just the surging of Brian Thomas Jr., which I would argue Mac Jones was the guy throwing to him most of the time. So, but but Brian Thomas Jr. having a great rookie season and
Yep.
solidifying himself, in my opinion, as the top wide receiver on that team and your wide receiver one going forward. And you saw Walker, who they what would it be 3 years now ago that he
Mm-hmm.
was the number one overall pick, either 2 or 3 years, and he's had back to back 10 sack seasons. And
Jarris?
so
Is that his name? Jarris?
his last name, I don't know if it's Javon Walker or
I think it's something with a J, but
it's
you
not with a
proceed.
J. I
I'll
know
look it
that,
up.
but he's like I said, he's had two back to back 10 sack seasons, which
Mm-hmm.
some teams are at a premium for that type of production out of an
Yes,
edge rusher. So they have a lot of young pieces, I think.
that's what it is.
Obviously,
Trayvon
Florida,
Walker.
Trayvon Walker, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And then obviously they have a lot of young pieces you can build around. I guess you're still trying to figure out the Trevor Lawrence situation. I mean, back-to-back seasons where he's dealt with injuries, but his extension is about to kick in. But I would say they're probably, in that top 2 to 3. Obviously, Chicago, we mentioned that before with
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Williams. And you kind of get into the Jets, you get into the Raiders, you get into the Saints, and to me, I think the Saints are still kind of in that top 3 to 4 of the
Mm-hmm.
jobs. I just think when you think of, like we said before when we talked about this, I think you're going to get an ownership group that is patient and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to get a front office that has proven that they will go after who you want them to go after by any means necessary. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
always bode well for the team in the end, but at the same time, as a coach that whether it's a draft prospect you're wanting or it's a free agent prospect that you're wanting, that the Saints are going to go after that person. They
Mm-hmm.
have an avenue to clean up the cap a little bit more over the next couple of years. And so I think we have to, kind of put lipstick on a pig a little bit more than some of these other teams. But when you think of the Raiders, you're firing a coach after one season. You're about to be paying
Yes.
4 coaches.
Same with Patriots though. They fired Gerard after one season.
Yeah.
Same with the Bears
Um.
coach, I believe. He was only there one season.
Yeah. Yeah.
These
And
guys are not getting any chance, especially when you got young quarterbacks. They do not want their young quarterbacks to be tainted by bad coaching. So
exactly.
I think we're going to see some veteran coaches come in to some of these probably a Patriots. Mike Vrabel is a big name right there. They say he's
Mm-hmm.
probably already got that locked up. But um I don't know. And I'm looking at the rankings right here of Sport News, and they're
Mm-hmm.
ranking the 1 through 6 teams. I'm about to share it
Yeah.
on the screen for y'all to see. And the Bears are one, of course.
Yeah.
The Patriots are number 2. Number 3 is the Jacksonville Jaguars, 4 the
Mm-hmm.
Raiders, Saints are 5, and I'm gonna read that since we got Saints heavy fans. The Saints
Yeah.
fired Dennis Allen and tried to stay afloat as they best could with special teams Darren Rizzi, taking over an injury riddled team, but they're a bit of a mess, caught in between a rebuilding team and a fading one. They have a terrible salary cap situation around which to navigate, and they need to catch up at QB with the rest of the division with Derek Carr near the end of NFL effectiveness. Now that is brutal, but I believe that is accurate.
Accurate.
That is so accurate. Like the whole injury riddled, caught in between a rebuilded team and a fading one. Terrible salary cap, which we know they can maneuver, but and Derek Carr nearing the end of NFL effectiveness. Who wrote this?
I
Because
don't
he
know.
has a good eye for, I don't know, he might
Yeah.
be a Saints fan how he wrote that, but I like that.
Yeah. I would
So
argue though, I would love to see us over the Raiders. Like I feel like because I
the
saw Tom
Raiders,
Brady's name in there. Like I feel like the only reason why the Raiders are there is because based on the pick they have and that
Tom
Tom
Brady,
Brady's
some
part of
ownership
management.
group.
Like they about to be 4 coaches. Like, once they hire this person in the next week or
Hmm.
so, they will have 4 head coaches on their payroll, with
Hmm.
3 of them not being anywhere, like not being
Hmm.
head coaches in this league.
You
Like
can
that's
say that
insane
the
to me.
Raiders did beat us.
They did, man. But like
He did
we
beat
suck.
us.
We suck.
It's
But
like,
like when you think of the management situation, you think of the ownership group. Like,
right.
I
Do
mean,
you still
Tom Brady is a GOAT. You think he's gonna have more patience than the ownership group currently? Like, hell no, he's gonna want to see you winning
Mhm.
year one. So I
Is
don't
he
know.
part
I
of the
would have loved to see
management
us
or the
win.
ownership group?
Mm-hmm.
He's got stake in the ownership or the management.
Ownership group.
Okay. Can
Mm-hmm.
he call Raiders games?
I think so. Like his
Oh,
contract is wonky, but like he can
his
is just weird.
contract is basically do whatever I want.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty
All
much.
right. Cool. All right. We're gonna move on to a couple. Before I get a couple NBA topics, y'all. Get off the NFL. I know NFL is super heavy. We're gonna give y'all NFL news on the whole January and February because y'all know the Super Bowl is in New Orleans where I reside at. But let's move on to Jimmy Butler's suspension and trade deadline because we're
Mm-hmm.
said knock this out some quick topics. 7 game suspension for Pat Riley, the sheriff or the warden of South Beach. Um and Jimmy has just said his agent that he doesn't want to go to Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
Um doesn't want to go to Milwaukee. His
Mm-hmm.
mainly preferred destination is the Suns, but they're really second apron team, I believe, first pushing the second apron, and they're pressed for assets to trade other than Bradley Beal. That's the only guy they can trade, and he has a no
Mm-hmm.
trade clause.
Yep.
He would like to go to Miami. He said he'll go to Miami or both LA teams, one either or Denver. But Miami obviously doesn't want Bradley Beal. They try to get Damian
Mm-hmm.
Lillard this offseason. They don't want Bradley Beal. What do you think of this Jimmy Butler suspension and where he wants to go, which is the Phoenix Suns?
Man, I thought the suspension was a little harsh, but I understood what they were trying to do when a player pretty much admits openly that he doesn't believe that he can find his happiness and his joy playing basketball in your organization. You don't want to have that in your locker room. You don't want to have that on the court because it's going to affect a lot of development of the players that you do have.
Mhm.
Um, but the thing is, he's making it very difficult on himself by restricting the teams that he would go towards. I mean, if you say
Mhm.
you want to win, right? And this is where I come in and I say, okay, I call BS. It's about money because Phoenix is probably the only team that's willing to give you an extension right now. And that's why you have said that's where you want to go. Because Memphis, they're just trying to make a run for a title right now. They don't necessarily need to lock in with Jimmy Butler for a long time because they have some young guys that are doing well. Ja Morant is back and healthy. They don't need to tie themselves in, but they need a veteran guy that
Yes.
has at least experience getting to the finals that can help get them over the hump.
Uh,
Milwaukee, hey, they already got a bunch of guys, right, that they're paying money to.
I don't
Hey,
know
we
how
don't
they
need
gonna
to,
get that done. It'll
right. We
probably
don't
have
need
to
to
be around
extend
Chris
Jimmy, right?
Middleton.
Right. We don't need to extend Jimmy, but he would be a big help in helping us get another championship,
Right.
especially trying to maximize the Giannis and Dame era.
And to mention, Jimmy has a $52 million player option.
Mm-hmm.
It's, as we talked about early during this podcast, I told you, my belief was free agency will really not ever be free agency like it used to be. Most
Mm-hmm.
teams are not having cap room with the amount of contracts that are being given out, max deals at 60 million. ain't no team walking around going into free agency with 70 million, 80 million in cap space, especially this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is a bad team like Washington, Brooklyn's going to have some cap space. But hey, obviously he doesn't want to go there.
Right.
I think he wants to go to the Suns because Matt Ishbia, a new owner, trigger happy. He will
Mm-hmm.
pay him this offseason a contract that he wants. Um, and I think that's why he's choosing the Suns because I don't see the fit there. Like Bill Booker and KD, it's better than is. I mean, I say Bill Butler, Booker, and KD. It's better than Bill Booker and KD
Mm-hmm.
because Bill doesn't play too much defense. Him and Booker are both shooting guards. Obviously, Jimmy can play the small or the power forward now at this time in his career. So,
Yeah.
but um, I don't. I'm if I was Memphis, I wouldn't do it like you said. They're pivoting towards Cam Johnson, a more younger guy who fits their timeline. I think he's like 28 or 27.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that fits them better. Can spot up his shoe, can put the ball on the floor. He's really had a good year in Brooklyn. So we'll see how that goes. Where would you like to see Jimmy?
Um,
A realistic spot.
Now the Spurs have been a mention
Okay.
too,
You
but
want to see him wreck y'all locker room?
I don't think he wreck our locker room. I think but the thing that gives me like cause to pause on that is because I don't know the health of
Pop
Coach Pop
condition.
right
Yeah.
now. And like if Coach Pop is in there, then we can handle that.
Why you say
Love
that though?
Mitch,
Because Miami culture, Pat Riley,
yeah,
Eric Spoelstra.
but Pat's a suit now. He's not
What about Eric
coaching.
Spoelstra?
Yeah, but Eric's always been kind of a soft spoken. He has the talent level. He's a good coach, but when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to kind of getting on you and getting the best out of you,
Is
that's not
Pop
his job.
still
He's not
like
going
that
to do
at
that.
this age in his point in his
Yeah,
career though? He still like
yeah,
that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
unless the stroke is going to take some of that out of him, but I
Mm-hmm.
think if that was the case, he'd say, "Hey, I'm done." Like if he feels like he can't be him, then I don't think he'd come back and coach.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if I wouldn't mind it with the Spurs, but again, I don't know if our team's where it needs to be right now
Mm-hmm.
to take that on, especially not knowing what Pop's status is. I really think the Bucks would be good for him because I
Mm-hmm.
think he's the type of player that they need. Um, a guy that, hey, I'm gonna make shots when I need to make shots, but I can come in. I can be your best perimeter defender. I'm not gonna really get in the way of your stars. Kind of the
Mm-hmm.
same thing that Phoenix is really asking him to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be a good spot for him as well. But the West, like I mean, him going to Phoenix, I don't say, oh man, they about to win the championship now. Like I don't think that
I,
puts them in the top 4 or 5 teams in the West.
I would say this. I think Denver is begging for like a third guy. And I think MPJ
Mm-hmm.
contract is sitting right there to go get a third guy. Maybe a Brandon Ingram. Um, maybe a Zach Levine. Or maybe a Jimmy Butler. I don't know. But I think Denver can make a move with that MPJ contract and throw another guy in there to get the salaries to match. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll be intrigued by them in this upcoming trade season. Even though they're starting to pile it on, they're starting to get some wins and
Yeah.
get back into form. Russ is playing great over there. But I think they're in a running. They'll be in a running to get one of these Ingram, Levine, or Jimmy Butler, something like that. But I think that'll be a good fit over there. Um, let's knock these quick topics out. Mike Brown fired and the Kings go on a 5-game winning streak with the Christie without De'Aaron Fox basically in the lineup for the majority of those games. They're on a
Mm-hmm.
5-game win streak now without as soon as Mike Brown get fired. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I personally I ain't like the Mike Brown firing, but
Uh-huh.
I guess if they're going on a little win streak, that'll make them feel better about it. But if it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really get them to where they thought they'd be in the Western Conference playoff picture, you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned De'Aaron Fox, so he's a trade candidate as well.
Mm-hmm.
Spurs also mentioned there, and so there's a possibility where you lose your best player, those wins won't matter at all anyway. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, man, Mike Brown, they played with his money throughout the offseason. When it came to trying to give him an extension, they finally gave him an extension, and I just
Mm-hmm.
felt like they were looking for a reason to get rid
Mm-hmm.
of him. Kind of the downfalls of coaches not having the players or having an association like the players do.
Yep. They got aged.
And and they mentioned some things like Demar. He had maybe approached Demar about coming to the bench or being hard on De'Aaron Fox in pressers and in public and stuff like that. But those were the same things that got the Sacramento Kings out of the dumps of NBA poverty and
Mm-hmm.
into being a consensus playoff contender. And I just think you allow that guy to grow and
Mm-hmm.
build with that, as opposed to the first sign of trouble, getting rid of him. So I
Okay.
didn't appreciate it, but it is what it is.
All right. I think Mike Brown will have a coaching job next year. And when you was touching on the Spurs, I did want to mention that I don't think they
Mm-hmm.
should go for a Jimmy because I think they're very set up for
Mm-hmm.
like the guy you mentioned, the Darren Fox, the Trey Young, but Trey Young just hit a half court buzzer beater game winner. They're set up for a nice point guard to pair with Wimby. So we'll see if stuff on Castle. He's more of a Castle is a more of a, like a combo guard,
Yeah.
but I don't know if he's gonna fully take over point guard um for in his career. He's definitely capable, but we'll see. Um Something else. Oh, Zion's back.
Zion.
360 windmill in NOLA last night. After a long awaited return from the hamstring injury he
Mm-hmm.
injured last year in the playing against the Lakers. He's back.
Yeah.
Do you think Brandon Ingram, Zion, CJ McCollum, one of them gets traded this
I think
trade cycle?
CJ gets traded.
They're
And I think
definitely out of
Brandon
the
Ingram gets
playoff
traded.
race.
Yeah, I think CJ ends up getting traded to a playoff contender.
Hmm.
Um, I can see him going to a team like Milwaukee, pairing back up with Dame.
Milwaukee
Um,
everywhere, huh?
yeah, because I feel like they're just trying to maximize that window
Yep. Yeah,
with Giannis
they
and Dame,
should.
and you can bring in CJ, who, I mean, I would if he goes to the Bucks, I think they're going to tell him, hey, you got to come off the bench because they kind of need that spark from a scoring standpoint off the bench. They don't necessarily need him in their starting lineup.
Yeah, he'll come off the bench
Um,
with Bobby Portis.
yeah.
And
Um,
their perimeter defense will be horrible if he starts with Dame.
oh
That's why
yeah.
they start Andrew Jackson and not Gary Trent or Pat Connaughton.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
need some perimeter defense. So him starting on the Bucks, that's the thing now. When you get to that point in your career
Hmm.
and you play for bad teams, you can start, but when you go to a championship team, you have to sacrifice your role. And a lot of these guys what are not going to be starting because these new analytic type guys and coaches, they're more fit.
Yeah.
As we were watching, I don't want I'm saying like we old. It
Yeah.
was more of like the coach made the offense work around like the stars. It was no way you was gonna see somebody on the Boston Big Five, Rondo Ray Allen
Mhm.
coming off the bench. As a coach, you had to make it work.
Mhm.
I don't know if it just was the Eagles back then. People aren't realizing in their career where they were, but you had to make it work. But last topic of this day, y'all. A quick one. Tyreek post game comments saying yeah, he was all over the place. I don't know if he was
Mhm.
emotional about the loss, but I did look today and it said the GM said he did not request a trade in a meeting. Oh Lord, I forgot the G off in meeting. Let me fix that. Y'all got us out here looking bad. But yes, he said the GM of the Dolphins said he did not request a trade during the meeting. What's your thoughts on this? He said a lot during that post game.
Yeah, I
Is he in the New
mean,
Jersey next year?
I think he is. Because they
Same.
kind of getting to the point where they aren't necessarily getting what they signed up for. Now, part of
Mhm.
that is due to Tua being
Right.
injured, but at the same time, if you're going to be playing Tyreek the money that you're paying him, you got to be able to step up no matter who's throwing you the ball. Because we've
Right.
seen other receivers do it. We're seeing
Mm-hmm.
Justin Jefferson do it. We've seen the guys over in Cincinnati do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing DK Metcalf do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just say, oh, well, my starting quarterback's out. Well, we pay you a lot of money to make all quarterbacks look good. They don't have to
Mm-hmm.
necessarily you don't have to be as good as you are with Tua, but you need to be able to make some of these plays.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen key drops from him this year. We've seen him not being able to have as much burst, whether that be the deep ball or even the yards after catch as he's
Mm-hmm.
had before. And I could see the Dolphins wanting to move on while he's still kind of a high commodity and you can fetch a pretty good pick for him at this
Hmm.
stage in his career, you'd rather be a year or two early than a year or two late.
I agree. I wouldn't be surprised to see him on in some new threads next year. Um, Obviously he got his money. I would think the next priority is to get back to winning. Like he said, it was his first year not making the playoffs. So hey,
Mm-hmm.
he's had a good career as winning wise, one Super Bowl. And we'll see where he ends up.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely could be another target. Definitely could be a target for like a Josh Allen, maybe a target
Yeah.
for a Lamar, maybe a target for a Mahomes again.
You know
Um,
Kansas City gonna fucking put that trade back in and get him.
I already know, man. Maybe a target for Joe Burrow since T Higgins leaving, man. Something. But we'll see, man. But that was the Bayou Ballers podcast, y'all. This our first show of the new year. Hopefully, y'all having a good new year. That's my dog's barking because wifey walking in the house. Any last words, brother?
Nah, man, just happy New Year to everybody, man. It's gonna be we having to do 2 episodes because there's just a lot of news. There's gonna be a lot
Yes.
of news over the next few weeks and months with coaching hires, and then we got to start getting into the draft and all that type of stuff. And that's just football. We haven't
Mhm.
even touched on NBA All Star break.
Yep.
Going who's gonna be on the All Star team?
The new
What's
All
it
Star
looking like with
format.
the right?
Yep.
What's it looking like with the awards and everything? And
Mhm.
trade deadline is probably gonna be the big thing. So hopefully we have a really good trade deadline, even if it's
Yes.
some middle of the pack guys that can kind of help a championship team or a team
Yep.
aspiring to be a championship team. I'm looking forward to seeing what the trade deadline looks like this year, especially because to your point, we kind of talked about how free agency isn't as eventful as it used to be, and we'll
Mhm.
probably never get that back. So trade deadline is where the magic happens. Let's
Yep.
look out for that.
In NFL Offensive Player of the Year: Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, or Jamar Chase.
Saquon.
Hurt. So Jamar Chase with the triple crown will not get an award. That is crazy this year.
Yeah. But,
But all right,
he
you got.
might get, but Saquon, I mean, just
Yep.
by down could have gotten the record. So
Hmm. I wonder will the Josh Allen sitting the last game affect his MVP case, but I doubt it. But that's it, you guys. Thank y'all for watching. We'll have this drop by tomorrow. This wasn't a live show. We've been doing lives the last few ones, but appreciate y'all for watching. Bye, you ballers. We out.